really a fan of your work, and really to get into talking about the Black Hamptons, but then also just a little bit about your journey, and to get everybody inspired by what got you here. So cool. So the Black Hamptons, that's like Dallas meets Dynasty meets tech meets Black people, and you play someone that am I the first person that described it as that?
You are. So I don't know that I would describe it as such, but I'll take it.
You'll
That's an
take it.
interesting take.
Look, think about it.
We'll see.
Rewatch it later on again. Be like, man, Mike might have got on to something. But
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. You
we'll
know.
see. But you play this character about new money, and it's so important because there's always this type of like generational type of like gap when it comes to old money, new money. So going into your character, how important is it to show that kind of Black face to new money, but also in tech?
I think those are both very important, which is another reason why this story attracted me. Not only because of the partnerships involved, Tridestin Studios, who I absolutely adore, and much respect and love for them over the years. We've done some really cool stuff together. So this was really exciting that we got to get this moving. Again, shout out obviously to BET, Paramount Global, and all of our other production partners and investors and so forth. But yeah, all of that, that whole conversation about who you're in business with, who you get to create really cool stuff with is really important. And to be able to add so many of the things that, again, are near and dear to my heart. One of my degrees is in IT. I've always been a math, science, and, I'm an inventor, you know what I mean? And we as Black people have always been that, have always been in those spaces, have always had that kind of acumen. The invention of all math and science, is well documented that it comes from African origins and, African thought. So we've always been in touch with the cosmos and been in touch with the natural, physical, and metaphysical elements of the world, right? So this is a really contemporary way of doing that as well. And if we have the opportunity, what I really look forward is beyond these 4 episodes, is really being able to show that Anthony is even deeper than we see him, in his current form, that his understanding, goes into more than just being somebody who tinkers with, with drone technology and mobile technology. He's somebody who didn't just come into being this brilliant man by just accident. He comes from brilliant people, the multiple generations of very bright, very astute people, but not everybody always has access to the same kind of opportunity, right? Whether it's access to capital, it's access to higher education, access to actually be able to put their hands on the technology.
Yeah.
So that if you are a tinkerer, that you can do just that. You can get in there and just, play around and have some fun. I remember even as a kid, how much I used to take things apart and put them back together. I remember vividly, even with my bikes, and I can go back to, middle school, right? You know what I'm saying? I used to literally take my bicycle apart and put it back together. I would buy singular parts from another place. I'd save up my money just to get a new, set of pedals even, or, understanding how to take out the ball bearings and, lubricate that whole system and put in, just parts of the bike that people don't even pay any attention to. You know what I mean? I had my little shocks and I had, like all kind of stuff, man. So I can think of quite a few examples of, again, how I connect with Anthony Johnson is my point. And yeah, I think it's very exciting to show us in this way because unfortunately it's underrepresented, but it's actually not anything new. But it's exciting when we actually get a chance to do it and show that acumen and show that that success and that level of Black intellect and Black excellence at that level when we get the opportunity.
Nice. I love that. And I think it's so important, as you said, when it comes to representation in that field, because people need to be able to see beyond, with Black characters in this, that you can be not so much maniacal, but like methodical with everything. You know what I mean? Like there's this, now you're going into these dynamics with these families and yourself, and you know, you're this person who's raised yourself from the ground up. So you not only, your character doesn't just have new money, he had to get it from the ground up. So there's a certain level of like, I have to protect myself at all costs, and I always have to think 10 steps ahead, because when it's old money, it was given to you.
Well, yeah, but then there's just the same level. There's a maybe a different type, but I think a very common and parallel
Yeah.
level of pride, protectiveness, responsibility, obligation, sometimes fear. Right?
Yeah.
You covet what you have. Now it's easy for new money to look at old money and be like, "Oh, you take this for granted. You've always had it this way," but that's because they don't know what it's like to be an old money inheritor, right?
Yeah.
And say, yeah, well, you don't know the kind of responsibility that comes with being handed the keys and being told, don't sink this ship, you know? And some of the other things that are not just expectations, but pressures. People still have to. I know, many situations. There's some people who are given this responsibility but haven't been adequately prepared for it. There's
Yeah.
others that are like, hey, this is going to be your responsibility, and this is your obligations in order for you to be adequately prepared for it.
Yeah.
You know, so there are times where those things have happened to some people, and they're like, this sucks. I mean, not to digress, but you go back to my character on Greenleaf, for
Yeah.
example, if you're familiar. And
Oh yeah.
Jacob is very much someone who has inherited this privilege, and he's unprepared for it. Not only is he unprepared, he doesn't want it. He's
Yeah.
resentful to be in the position where he's obligated to do it, and he kind of tricks it off at first until he understands, okay, this is a responsibility. And then he starts to really lean into his sense of purpose and understands a little bit more through maturity how God is going to work through him. And then therefore, not, here's where my heart and my passion is taking me. And these are the tools and the level of obligation that comes along with it, and starts to have a little bit more respect for his father
Yeah.
once he now starts wearing the same kind of shoes. I think Anthony is in a very interesting point in a similar part of the process, which is him similarly being like, yeah, I might be new money, I might be first generation new money, but how do I do what I can to sustain that so that I can give birth to Jacob,
Yeah.
right? So that my son can be prepared, to do what's required to take this to the next level. He also didn't come into that wealth on his own. Sydney Johnson, his beautiful wife, is also who helped him build this company. She's very, very smart, very sharp as a businesswoman. And in some ways, I'd like to, and we may see that she might be even sharper as a businesswoman than he is when it
Yeah.
comes to her business mind and how much of a shark she is when it comes down to really getting some serious business done. His company is named after her. So again, we see this level of commitment between these two people on a personal level, but we also see how their partnership works together in the business sense too. And she kind of picks him up in ways where he isn't necessarily as strong. He's brilliant on the technical end, but sometimes when it comes to managing the money side, we wonder
Yeah.
if if he'll be able to keep this success afloat without again the right kind of partners within his company, as well as partners, his life partner, who's been a huge asset to him personally and professionally. And that's part of what's cool about this too. Like I said, um, it's not all about Anthony. It's
Yeah.
about Anthony and Sydney. It's about them and their two kids, and it's
Yeah.
about them, trying to come into a new community, into a new environment, and fit in. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, they start off on the wrong foot,
Yeah.
ruffling the feathers of maybe the absolute wrong family to be ruffling feathers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's unfortunately how we learn. I've been the new kid in school multiple times.
Yeah.
I know what that's like, trying to find the right peer group. Sometimes wanting not to connect with people at all because you don't want to get hurt, or you don't know how long you're sticking around. Oh, I'm only here for the summer
Yeah.
or whatever. But it's just there's a lot of things in it that a lot of people will identify with, you know, whether you consider yourself the old money people or the new money people, you know, whether regardless of what generation, you know, you might side with this family or this family. You might side with this particular person within the family more so than with another person within the same family. So I think a lot of people are going to see themselves. They're going to see parts of themselves that they're not proud of, and they're going to see parts of themselves in some of these characters that they're going, I think, also to aspire to. And that's part of what we want to do too, is set some strong positive examples. Although, of course, these characters are going to be flawed, and there's going to be conflict and high drama, and, you know, some occasional foolishness and all that, because that's just people. No matter how excellent they are, no matter how affluent they are, you know, people can be brilliant, but they can be, you know, knuckleheads and chicken heads sometimes at the same time. And this is all races, colors, and creeds too. Believe me, I know some of the wealthiest of the wealthiest of the wealthy on the planet, and you know, some of them are incredible people, and so many of them have much to be desired. You know, so depending on what your examples are, your relationship and your definition of success will be challenged when you actually meet people that you consider successful. Because some of them ain't that, you know, they ain't all that. You'd be very disappointed. But we don't want people to be disappointed with the folks that they see and the examples that they see in the Black Hamptons. I think you're going to be very impressed. It's shot beautifully, directed brilliantly by Trey Haley, you know, and you know, the geography is beautiful. The people are beautiful, and they're smart and funny, and it's sexy, you know, it's sophisticated, you know, it's all these things. So it's we're excited about it, as you can tell. If you can tell, I'm excited.
No, I'm excited for you.
We're excited to share it with you, man, for sure.
No, definitely. And I love that. I love when someone is as excited, you know, because doing so many interviews with actors like yourself, when you guys all fall in love with the script, there's something that resonates. And it's just, I have to go back to what you said when you were talking about, and I saw Greenleaf and your character in there. There is parallelisms. These both characters you have, where you have this strong Black female wife, which is so amazing to see as well too, because they show them being so strategic, so strong, but holding you up, you know what I mean? And even when you're going through your flaws
or holding you down.
And I saw in
Carissa's example. She got,
why do you get these roles where, because when I looked at the trailer, where the new family, where the Britons, they are the mom is like, okay, they're trying to get you seduced. Why do you get these roles where you're this, like, you know, powerful man, but there's always a woman seducing you? Is that just something that Hollywood seems to be like, you know what, Lamman is this guy that looks like he's gonna get seduced by somebody pretty?
Woe is me. You know, I get to have these beautiful women, you know, thrown in my direction all the time. But no, man, I think it's one of those also realistic things. I mean, we know if there's anything that many of us men can be weak for, it's a beautiful woman. And in particular, depending on the timing and depending on what that man's weakness might be, or what his vulnerabilities or insecurities or uncertainties or whatever may be. And even if it doesn't work, you know, to manipulate him or con him in that way, women know sometimes the power that they have, and they'll often use it, or at least attempt to use it. So all of the men that I've portrayed, you know, obviously we always flirt with that opening, right? Yeah. That this woman could come in and change everything. And sometimes that's a profound thing, to let this woman in and let her, you know, be in a position, to change everything and to change you for the better. But you also got to be careful, because if you're not sharp about it, you can let the wrong woman in and she'll tear the whole thing down. You know, if she has bad intentions, and depending on, you know, what her motives are. So, but yeah, man, I think that's something that always adds sex appeal to a show, always adds that level of, you know, it makes things kind of risque, and you know, as that, like I said, that uncertainty to, you know, is Jacob gonna fall for this? Is You know, I mean, pick a character. You know, is he gonna fall for this? Is he gonna? Which one's he gonna pick? You know, or whatever. Or is the woman gonna pick? You know, Lamman, or is she gonna pick this guy? I've been in that situation too, where sometimes I wasn't in the one. I wasn't the one in power to be choosing. I was hoping to be chosen or whatever, you know? So sometimes I'm the one who's come into a relationship and busted it all up. And sometimes I'm the guy within the relationship and somebody else comes along and, you know, and busts the whole thing up. So, you know, those are all situations that many of us understand and have been through. And we've played whatever role in that little triangle. But that's, yeah, it's you're definitely a pattern there. You're right. But I think that's one of the things that attracts a lot of people to me and my work is that they always know that you know, there's always going to be something a little sexy, you know, happening if I'm somewhere in the equation, which is cool, and it can be fun. Nowhere near as much fun as it looks to y'all because it's so technical. It's so technical for us. But at the same time, I gotta admit, it makes it easy to come to work when you get to work with a brilliant, beautiful women on such a regular basis. So a shout out to all my leading ladies and, you know, all the other incredible women that I've had the chance to work for and work with. So it's been a privilege. Yeah, I embrace it for sure. You know, yeah. So it's great, and I'm glad that you recognize that as well. That this pattern of seeing, you know, strong Black men, but what are we without our strong Black women by our side?
Yeah, and you know, and I think the thing is where I love that they choose you for characters where it's like you want to see because you're the good guy, you're the one that should be, you're like the father, you're the husband. So it's weird because there's a duality. It's like they want to see like, will he give into temptation? Will he not? You know, you could take it back all the way to why did I get married? There's always this part where it's like, why can't he understand? It's like there's this like flip where it's like it plays with the audience because it's like we're
right.
almost like we first fall in love with Lamman, then we're like, why did he do that? He set us back, and then he comes back, and we're like, we like him again. Like it's like you. It's
I mean,
like
and you know how we do.
emotions.
We talk to the TV, we talk to the screen, people throwing stuff. Like, you're so stupid. Why did you do that? Couldn't you see that coming? You know what I mean? And there's other times you're like, ooh, I know what exactly gonna happen. He gonna get with her and such and such and so and so, and that girl's gonna break up with that clown, and she need to get over. She need to get with him. You know, there's all these things we want to happen, and that's you're exactly right, man. We want people to be invested. We want people to go on this roller coaster ride with us, you know, and with these characters, to care what happens with these characters, right? You want them to care as well as like to really just be engaged enough that they're just willing to come for the ride. And that's why we do this, man. It's for the joy of sharing this experience with you all, right? Excuse me, sharing it with the viewer so y'all can come along, you know, on the adventure. And hopefully you can't always see what's coming. And even if you do, it's still a matter of how it's going to happen, right? And how it's going to happen to these particular people in this particular story at this particular time in this particular place. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think you're going to really enjoy it, and you know, really excited to share it with you.
No, definitely. We have 6 minutes left. I really like to be conscious of time. So got to
sure.
about you know, the show. I love to give people insights on you, you know, not just as a human being, but what do you look for in scripts when it comes, you know, your way? What do you look for in roles? Because, you know, you get things thrown your way all the time. What makes you say, nah, I'm okay. Yes, maybe so. This is not it. I don't want people to see me in this light. You know, what's your thought process between when you say yes and no?
Yeah, it goes back to so many things I just said. Really, it's is this a dynamic story, right? Is it engaging? Is there something that, even for me, does it keep my attention? I consider myself to be an intelligent person. I consider myself to be somebody who wants things of a certain intellectual caliber, something that's a little different than everything I've seen before, even if they're going to be elements that are going to be similar. And like you said, that are going to be parallels to other things. Even when I see certain people, I trust certain artists. I know when I see such and so, okay, I can trust their judgment. This ain't going to be no, you know, BS because so-and-so don't do no BS. I know that the quality of their work artistically, as well as the quality of this content and how it represents people who look like me, and how it's also respectful and representative of people who don't look like me. I think we have to have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but we talk about inclusion. We talk about people showing us the right kind of respect and not stereotyping us. I think in our stories, we need to do the same thing, be just as diverse and inclusive in the other people that exist in our world and our lives and our universe, and represent them fairly and appropriately and equitably, right? And justly as well. So stories that do that as well, that aren't contributing to, you know, sexism and racism and all this other foolishness the way, you know, other things do. Like, I look for people who are really being sharp and really being astute and responsible about what they're doing. I'm not in, like, again, I'm a mind playing a guy that's flawed. I actually look for that. If the character's too perfect, I'm not interested. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
At the same time, I'm not interested in portraying a Black man who is just a clown. What am I doing that for? That doesn't elevate us. It's not a story that's elevated. It perpetuates the negative. You know, I believe limited and insignificant images of Black men, Black family, Black love, men of color, people of color in general. I'm not interested. If somebody else wants to be a clown, let them be a clown.
Yeah.
If you ain't heard it before, let me tell you very clearly, Lamman Rucker is no clown. All right, personally and professionally. And I believe that I have a responsibility to you, you know, so that when you see me, you can trust me. When you see me, you know that I'm not out here acting like a donkey. You know what I'm saying? And we need to treat each other like kings. I need to speak for you and represent you like a king. And you know, I shouldn't have to say it. None of us have to say it. Kings just are kings, and we walk, talk, bleed like it, and that's it. You don't have to walk in the room and announce, "Hey, the king is here." If that's what you got to do, then more than likely you're not really you ain't really that dude if you got to tell everybody, right?
Yeah.
So again, man, I just like to create relationships and create stories where we just see people just in their natural magnificence. Man, we can see the light and the intelligence and the God power within them, just illuminating in them and how they're trying to walk and live their lives. And you know, if nothing less, we're seeing people try. You know what I'm saying? We're seeing people working hard to do better for themselves, to do better for, and how they build community, you know, be better, and how they take their creativity and, like I said, innovate things and create things and share all this opportunity with the other people around them, you know? So these are the stories that are important to me. And again, this is why I found Tridestin Studios and Urban Books Media, people like Carl Weber and you know, Indy Brown and Trey Haley, why I found them to be such incredible partners, because they get it. And these are people that have similar values. And when you work together, you know that, like I said, you can trust each other to be doing this stuff in the right way and for the right reasons, you know? So yeah, we got people we're obligated to, those who've come before and those yet to be born, you know what I'm saying? So, and all of us that are here together right now, let's you know, let's do the best we can to do what we're here to do the best we can.
Nice. I love that. And before we go, this has been amazing. This gives me a lot of great narration. And also I'll send it to Monica so she can send it back to you. So just in case, if you know, I'm real big on representation and narration, just because as a media outlet, I don't take it lightly on how we represent ourselves. So I always want to make sure that, you know, it's like, oh no, Mike, I would love it if you know what I mean? I'm real big on that. Like, you know, some people just put stuff out and I'm like, why'd y'all do that? You know, I'm so big on my writers
without kicking it back to make sure everybody's good, right?
Exactly. So before we end, Johnsons versus the Britons, how would you describe the Johnsons versus the Britons in like the pros and cons of how they both approach this type of clash?
Yeah, so the Johnsons come from, like you said, new money. They're all about their new ideas. It's everybody has equitable access to everything, right? Yeah, we might be new in town, but we're just as relevant and just as important as anybody else. You know, there's no classism in their eyes, right? There's no hierarchy. They understand they're new to the community, but hey, we're not trying to cause nobody no trouble. We're just trying to come in and, you know, and be part of the love that we understand is here. And they see the Britons as the aggressors. You know, they're like, you know, so the Johnsons are like, yo, why are you picking on us? You know what I mean? We just got here. We good people, you know, and we don't have, you know, any ill intent. You know, you see them, beautiful, loving family. Like I said, their kids are sharp, brilliant, beautiful young people. And you'll get to learn more about them, you know, as this story continues to expand. Again, we see them as a loving couple, Sydney and Anthony Johnson. You know, there's some really, I think, wonderful, healthy, positive things about their family. Now, you know, later on, we might get the opportunity to see that, okay, there might be some cracks, you know, in there somewhere too, some things that they have to work on. But I think the Britons, on the other hand, at least from my perspective and in my opinion, they look like they're perfect, but there's a lot of dissension within the family. There's some secrets in there that are being kept and that have been kept for a while. You know, the husband and father is no longer in the equation, and I'm not exactly sure why. I think he may be deceased at this point, but we don't see him yet. We see Vanessa Bell Calloway, who plays, you know, Mrs. Britton. She's in, they run and own the bank. And of course, the bank runs and owns almost everything in the town, owns probably the majority of people's mortgages, you know, as well as they themselves have their own empire. So they're in other businesses and they've got all this realm of influence. So for them, there definitely is classism. They definitely consider themselves the royal family of this place. And anybody who comes in has to come and answer to them, has to work through them. They're entitled to things before anybody else is supposed to have access. So it's just a bit, but again, they see the Johnsons as the aggressor, right? These outsiders coming in, you know, you know, like I said, disrupting the flow of how things happen. And disrespecting how things typically go on here. So just this difference in perspective, you know, is what's really interesting. So that's why, again, I think stories are interesting, is because it's not always about right or wrong. It's about learning what the actual perspective is. And then how do these people get themselves on the same page if they can at all, you know? But they're different people. And they have a different family constructs, different family dynamics, different personalities, and a different relationship with wealth, different relationships with power. You know, so the way the Britons exercise their power is very different than the kind of chill, free flow and kind of the young, sexy swag that the Johnsons, you know, flow with their power. They know they're powerful. But you know, they don't swing the bat around the way the Britons do, and that's part of the dynamic. It's this difference in style, this difference in personality, this difference in you know, and just how people move and shake, how they treat other people, and how they treat each other from across, you know, the street, if you will, and even like I said, within each family, you can tell the dynamics, you know, right away by the way the Britons talk to each other and the way the Johnsons talk to each other. You know, you can feel the difference. You know, there's some very significant differences, but you know, they'll probably also see, maybe even against their own wishes, how much they both have in common with each other too. Yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah, you'll see loyalties tested. You'll see, you know, it has its Romeo and Juliet, you know, family dynamics, you know, just the old traditional families from across the tracks, and they're supposed to be enemies, but yet people start having connections with one another, you know, they're supposed to be enemies, but it doesn't always stay that way. And then sometimes the worst of enemies can become the best of friends or allies, especially if there is the, you know, upsurgence or resurgence of another common foe. So you never know. These people at any point could be allies because they now need to join forces because here comes somebody else
Yeah.
threatening, right? Threatening the balance of things, or whatever. So it's real cool. There's so many people involved. I mean, this is technology. I mean, it's real estate. It's family histories and legacies that are in the conversation. It's husbands and wives and ex-husbands and ex-wives and young people and teenagers, and some teenagers that ain't got no business having the kind of access to wealth and privilege that they have access to.
Yeah.
You have law enforcement that's in the equation, right? There's local and political leadership and how we've got elders in the equation that bring their vibe and bring their wisdom, to the conversation. I mean, so it's a really cool, intergenerational, so many different levels of class and, social status and all this in the conversation. So right now it's just a limited, 4-episode series experience, but we're looking forward to, like I said, expanding this and building on it. So we need you all to show love, and all your viewers and your community, your friends, your family, all your fans.
Definitely.
Make sure y'all tune in, August 25th. You're streaming and spreading the word and enjoying the experience, and telling all, everybody and hitting up BET and on social media, reposting things and, talking about it and sharing the experience with us. And we're going to do the best we can to keep you engaged, to, do some cool things between now and then. And even once the show is available in August, to keep the conversation going and continue it, so that you all stay locked in. And like I said, ideally, just like the other things that I've had the privilege to be on for multiple seasons and multiple years, this thing gets to keep going, and we get to have, much more fun together on a much longer ride. And ideally, the excellence keeps coming. So I know I got stuff in the pipeline. Tridestin has stuff in the pipeline. They're already doing incredible stuff with the family business, and some other things that they've got moving. So we're proud that BET is the home of so much of our original content, and looking forward to building on that.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. I'm excited for this. Going to get this right up, get this out there. We're actually going to put your story in our next physical issue, because we are a physical magazine too. So we have that. We had T on the cover. So definitely.
I see. Okay, T
so
Bowery.
We have there. Yeah. So we got
I see you, Ma. I see you, Ma.
This one for the August one. Look, I know everybody loves her.
That's the girl, man. That's the homie, man. That's what's
up. Thank you again for this opportunity. We'll make sure to get it out there as soon as possible. This week
we might have to get Tia on the show. See what you just did.
See, look, look at God.
No, she'd be perfect, really. You know what I mean? Definitely. Yeah, she'd be perfect. Might have to get Tia. Find space for her. That's exactly my point, man. That's the fun of this. There's so many people that so many of us would love to see more of. Exactly. We know how talented they are. Obviously she's been doing other things in more recent years. So it's great. Yeah, it's great. Her husband's a dynamic actor. I mean, there's just so many people like that deserve to have so much more light on them. But that's what we're gonna do, man. We're gonna shine the light on all of us, man. So the light shining on you, brother. Thank you, man. Thanks for spending time with me. Thanks for your interest in the Black Hamptons. And we really appreciate you and look forward to further conversation, man. So see you on August 25th, BET Plus, baby. I'll see you no sooner.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. What city are you in?
San Diego.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah, so we are between San Diego and LA. So I'm originally from LA. Okay. So we have the business out in LA, so I'm actually leaving to LA tomorrow, because we have a new podcast I'm starting out with DJ Damage called Tried and True for the publication. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's what's up. All right. So, I used to live in San Diego back in the day when I was a little dude. Oh, my dad was in the Navy. So I lived in I went to Chula Vista Junior High. Wow. And National City. Yeah. Oh wow, that's too funny. Small world. Used to live in National City. I've been in them streets. Yeah. I was out there. Yeah. What, seventh and eighth grade? 7th and 8th grade, yeah. 7th and 8th grade. Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. I gotta keep that in
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. Hey man, listen, don't be out there with your investigative journalism skills before I know it, you be done pulled up a photo from my
No,
you
not at
know,
all. Not at
eighth
all.
grade
Eighth
photo,
grade.
you know.
Let me go look. I now got the info and it's recording. Let me go see here.
uh, That'd be hilarious though, actually, if you find it.